Hello, thriller enthusiasts. Welcome back to another gripping episode of Thriller Nights. I'm your host, Greg, and today, we delve into the chilling true crime story of Joseph James DeAngelo, also known as the Golden State Killer. But before we begin, a huge thank you to all our subscribers for your incredible support. If you're new here, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more spine-tingling tales. Your support helps us bring you these thrilling stories. Now, let's dive into the twisted world of Joseph James DeAngelo. The year is 1976. A peaceful suburban neighborhood in Sacramento, California, is about to be shattered by a series of heinous crimes. It begins with a break-in. The intruder, masked and silent, moves through the house with eerie precision. His targets are unsuspecting couples, their peaceful nights turning into nightmares. This is the beginning of the reign of terror by the man who would come to be known as the East Area Rapist. At first, the attacks seem random, but they share chilling similarities. The perpetrator stalks his victims, learning their routines and exploiting their vulnerabilities. Sacramento, once a haven of safety, is gripped by fear as residents lock their doors and windows, praying they won't be next. Joseph James DeAngelo, a former police officer, uses his training to evade capture. He stalks his victims meticulously, learning their routines, finding the perfect moment to strike. The first known victims, Brian and Katie Majori, are found murdered in their home, a scene of unimaginable horror. The police are baffled. The East Area Rapist leaves little evidence, slipping in and out of homes like a phantom. His attacks are brutal, his behavior unpredictable. Residents live in a state of constant fear, knowing that a monster walks among them. The East Area Rapist's modus operandi is always the same. He breaks in at night, binds the male victim, and brutally assaults the female. His taunting whispers and cold, calculated movements create an atmosphere of pure terror. Despite the police's best efforts, he slips through their fingers time and time again. His methodical approach includes pre-cut ligatures, carefully planned escape routes, and an uncanny ability to avoid leaving fingerprints. He often taunts his victims, whispering menacing threats, making the ordeal even more horrifying. His ability to control his environment and outsmart the authorities makes him a formidable and terrifying adversary. The attacks continue, spreading fear throughout Sacramento and beyond. As the body count rises, the media dubs him the Golden State Killer. But who is this monster lurking in the shadows? The police are desperate for answers, but DeAngelo is always one step ahead. His crimes escalate from rape to murder, leaving behind a trail of shattered lives and broken communities. Despite numerous task forces and investigative efforts, DeAngelo remains elusive. His knowledge of police procedures allows him to stay ahead, taunting law enforcement with his ability to vanish without a trace. Years pass, and the Golden State Killer's crimes become cold cases. The trail goes cold, but the memories of his victims remain vivid. For decades, families live in fear, wondering if the monster will ever be caught. The year is now 1977. The attacks of the East Area Rapist continue to escalate, spreading fear beyond Sacramento. From the Bay Area to Southern California, communities are on edge as reports of break-ins and assaults flood in. The meticulous planning and brutal nature of the attacks leave law enforcement agencies baffled and residents paralyzed with fear. Despite increased patrols and public awareness campaigns, the Golden State Killer strikes with impunity. His ability to evade capture becomes legendary, as each new attack brings fresh horror and heartbreak to the victims and their families. The sheer audacity of his crimes fuels speculation and fear, turning him into a shadowy figure haunting California. By the early 1980s, the East Area Rapist's reign of terror takes a deadly turn. Murders are linked to his escalating spree of violence, marking a shift from assaults to homicides. The meticulous planning and ruthless execution of these crimes send shockwaves through law enforcement and the public alike. Meanwhile, the media, hungry for answers, coins the moniker Golden State Killer, to encompass the escalating horror. The name strikes fear into the hearts of Californians as the elusive killer's reign of terror expands across the state. The transformation from the East Area Rapist to the Golden State Killer marks a chilling evolution in Joseph James DeAngelo's criminal career. The crimes, once primarily focused on assault and burglary, now include multiple homicides. The brutal murders and calculated attacks on innocent victims escalate, leaving a trail of devastation in their wake. Law enforcement agencies across California join forces in a desperate attempt to apprehend the elusive killer. Task forces are formed, and new investigative techniques are employed, yet the Golden State Killer continues to evade capture. His ability to blend into suburban life and maintain a facade of normalcy only adds to the mystery surrounding his identity. The Golden State Killer's reign of terror casts a long shadow over California, leaving communities gripped by fear and uncertainty. Families install security systems, sleep with weapons by their bedsides, and live in constant fear of the unknown assailant lurking in the darkness. As the body count rises and the attacks spread, the Golden State Killer becomes one of the most notorious and elusive criminals in American history. His ability to evade capture for decades baffles investigators and fuels speculation about his motives and methods. As the 1980s come to a close, the attacks seemingly stop, but the fear remains. The Golden State Killer has vanished, leaving behind a series of cold cases that haunt the victims, their families, and law enforcement. Despite the lull in attacks, the communities he terrorized are left grappling with the trauma of his crimes. The cases grow cold, but they are never forgotten. Survivors and their families live with the scars of the past, constantly looking over their shoulders, fearing that the nightmare might return. For decades, the memory of the Golden State Killer lingers like a dark cloud over California, casting a long shadow of unresolved pain and unanswered questions. Families and communities remain vigilant, holding on to hope that one day, justice will be served. The persistence of law enforcement and the resilience of the survivors fuel the ongoing search for answers. Advances in forensic science offer a glimmer of hope, but the identity of the Golden State Killer remains a mystery. Fast forward to 2018. Decades have passed, but the determination to catch the Golden State Killer has never waned. Advances in DNA technology provide a new avenue for investigators. Genetic genealogy, a technique that uses DNA to trace family trees, emerges as a powerful tool in solving cold cases. Investigators input DNA from the crime scenes into a public genealogy database, hoping for a match. The process is meticulous, requiring the careful construction of family trees from distant relatives. Finally, a breakthrough. The DNA leads to a name, Joseph James DeAngelo. DeAngelo, now an elderly man living a quiet suburban life, is placed under surveillance. Investigators collect a discarded item with his DNA, confirming the match. The evidence is irrefutable. After decades of evading justice, the Golden State Killer is finally in custody. The arrest sends shockwaves through the communities he once terrorized. For the survivors and their families, it's a moment of profound relief and emotional catharsis. The man who haunted their lives for so long is finally unmasked, and justice is within reach. In the courtroom, DeAngelo faces his accusers. The stories of his horrific crimes are recounted, and the bravery of the survivors shines through. The trial is a harrowing experience, but it brings long-awaited closure to those affected by his reign of terror. Joseph James DeAngelo's capture is a testament to the relentless pursuit of justice and the unyielding spirit of the survivors. It's a story of resilience, perseverance, and the hope that even the coldest of cases can be solved with dedication and advances in science. April 24, 2018. In a quiet neighborhood in Citrus Heights, California, law enforcement officials prepare to make an arrest that will bring decades of fear and speculation to an end. Joseph James DeAngelo, a former police officer living a seemingly ordinary life, is about to be unmasked as the Golden State Killer. The arrest is swift and decisive. DeAngelo is taken into custody without incident, his expression betraying no emotion. As the news spreads, the reaction is one of shock and relief. For the survivors and their families, it's a moment of validation and the beginning of the end of a long, dark chapter. The evidence against DeAngelo is overwhelming. DNA from crime scenes matches his, tying him to numerous assaults and murders. The meticulous investigation, the tireless efforts of law enforcement, and the advances in DNA technology have finally paid off. The public learns of DeAngelo's double life. A former police officer, Vietnam veteran, and family man, DeAngelo's outward normalcy masked a sinister reality. His arrest brings a mix of emotions, relief, anger, and disbelief, among those who knew him and those who lived in fear of the Golden State Killer. The trial of Joseph James DeAngelo is one of the most anticipated in recent history. Courtrooms are packed with survivors, their families, and members of the media, all seeking closure and justice. The proceedings are emotional and intense, as the stories of the victims are recounted in heartbreaking detail. Victims and their families take the stand, facing DeAngelo with courage and resolve. They recount the horrors they endured, the lasting impact on their lives, and their relief at seeing him finally brought to justice. DeAngelo sits silently, his demeanor cold and unfeeling, as the weight of his crimes is laid bare. The evidence is irrefutable, the testimonies powerful. DeAngelo is convicted of multiple counts of murder, rape, and burglary. In a moment of profound justice, he is sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. The courtroom erupts in a mix of tears, relief, and applause. For the survivors and their families, the trial brings a sense of closure, though the scars of DeAngelo's crimes will never fully heal. The bravery of those who faced him in court is a testament to their resilience and strength. The verdict marks the end of a long, painful journey toward justice. Joseph James DeAngelo, the Golden State Killer, will spend the rest of his life behind bars. His capture and conviction are a victory for justice and a powerful reminder of the importance of perseverance in the face of evil. With the verdict delivered, Joseph James DeAngelo is sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. The courtroom is filled with a sense of relief and justice as the final chapter of his reign of terror comes to a close. For the victims and their families, it's a moment of validation and vindication. Survivors and their families reflect on the journey they've endured. The years of fear, the pain of the attacks, and the long wait for justice have finally culminated in a resolution. While the scars remain, there's a sense of closure that allows them to begin healing. The public reacts to the sentencing with a mixture of relief and solemn reflection. The Golden State Killer's capture and conviction mark a significant moment in the history of criminal justice, highlighting the advancements in forensic science and the relentless pursuit of truth by law enforcement. DeAngelo's sentencing is a testament to the strength and resilience of the human spirit. The courage of the survivors, the dedication of the investigators, and the power of DNA technology have all played a crucial role in bringing a monster to justice. The story of the Golden State Killer serves as a powerful reminder of the importance of never giving up, no matter how cold the case may seem. Thank you for joining us on this journey into the dark and twisted world of Joseph James DeAngelo, the Golden State Killer. His capture and conviction are a testament to the resilience of the human spirit and the relentless pursuit of justice. As we reflect on the impact of DeAngelo's crimes, we are reminded of the importance of advancements in forensic science and the unwavering dedication of those who seek to bring criminals to justice. The bravery of the survivors and their families is a beacon of hope and strength for us all. Thank you for tuning in to Thriller Nights. If you found this story compelling, please like, comment, and subscribe to our channel for more thrilling tales. Your support helps us continue to bring you stories that matter. This is Greg, signing off. Until next time, stay safe and keep your doors locked.